this technology that we can't understand, and how do we apply a law that is not there? So I'm going to start with doing what law professors do. So I'm going to give you a definition. Okay. The definition of fintech is, it's the word financial technology put together, used to describe new tech that seeks to improve and automate the delivery and use of financial services. At its core, fintech is utilized to help companies, business owners, consumers better manage their financial operations, processes, and lives by utilizing specialized software and algorithms that are used on computers and increasingly on smartphones. Did you get that? No? You cannot wrap your head around that one, can you? Yeah? So, if I was to put it simply, it is merely use of computers and technology in delivery of banking and financial services. And if that is my understanding of fintech, it is as old as the hills. 1967, Barclays Bank, London, introduced the first ATM. Geez, man, magical. There is no person, there's a machine giving you money. This is 1967. It was almost another 20 years before HSBC in India introduced an ATM. In 1987, the then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, he inaugurated that ATM. Yeah, maybe you remember. Yeah, some of you were not even born then. But some things remain constant. The opposition went on a Bharat Bandh. See? They said, look, we cannot have this technology here because it's going to take away our jobs, etc., so on and so forth. The next big Bharat Bandh that came was in somewhere in the late 1990s, when ICICI Bank introduced for the first time in India net banking. Yeah, so you know what? Fintech is before some of you were even born. You know, but of course, in the last few years, we've had this galloping growth on fintech, and as you heard, it is all pervading. It is a part of our systems. I mean, it's no longer just a system of payment. Fintech is there in insurance. It's there in lending. It's there in wealth management. It's there in mutual funds. It's there in credit ratings. So whether we like it or not, fintech has pervaded into our systems, not only as users, but also as an integral part of our economy. So from what I understand, in 2021, fintech startups raised $8 billion in 280 deals, averaging $33 million a deal. I believe the market size of fintech companies in India today is about $50 billion and is expected to go up to about $150 billion in 2025. There have been, in 2021, if I'm not mistaken, about 5,000 startups, and 22 of them are unicorns today. So not only in our personal space, but in the economic space, in the GDP of our country, fintech is there. Now, there are a few blips. You know, some of these startups haven't done well in the stock market, you know, and probably some of you are hurting from that one, but I guess that's a small little hurdle we will cross at some point, and maybe in some cases funding has dried up, but I'm sure that's going to pick up over a period of time. Now, how did we get here? How did India get here, and what do we need to do? So there have been many advertent and inadvertent processes. So wherein India has taken to fintech, one of them is made in China. COVID. Yeah. Some of them are made in India. Demonetization. Some of them are made in India with good intentions. There is the startup policy, there is the Make in India policy, there is Digital India policy, which have really helped fintech gallop forward, as we heard the phrase leapfrog, and be all pervading. We have been fortunate, and I say fortunate by default, that we have had the largest pool of talented software engineers in the world to do coding for us. We've got a young population that has taken to technology very well. We got the cheapest data plans in the world. And I dare say, and probably my panelists could throw some more light on that, we have a fairly nimble regulator, though, you know, who may not be making fresh laws on fintech, but is definitely tweaking the existing laws to make sure that there is space for fintech operations in this country. Now, technology and finance. finance is there. When technology comes in, it cannot function without data. And that's where we come to the human rights element. We all know that data belongs to me. And when data goes out there, it raises three critical issues. The three critical issues are data security, use of data by artificial intelligence bodies, and the last, and probably the most important, data privacy. Now, how many of you here have used e-commerce? Show me hands. Bought on Facebook, Myntra, Amazon. Have you booked an Uber cab, paid by credit card? Anybody who hasn't, so let me reverse the question. Anybody who hasn't.
Let's take
But,
the photograph.
sorry?
Let's take
Yeah, let's give him an award, you know. And I'd like to have a sense of brotherhood with him, or her, you know, for that matter. So how many of you have never, ever bought anything online or booked a cab? Nobody? You know what? You are the beneficiaries, or dare I say, the victims of Fintech. Every time you engage in a transaction, you put some data point out there. Your name, an account number, credit card details, PAN, Aadhaar card, some data you put out there, and notwithstanding the greatest goodness of the person who received your data, ladies and gentlemen, where is that data now? It's sitting on some server. Which server? Don't know. Who's controlling? Don't know. How long will it be there? Don't know. Can it be misused? Should I say don't know? Can you be hacked? Should I say don't know? Can there be ransomware? Should I say don't know? Is this a big security issue that is impacting the basic human right that we have of something that is an intangible possession of ours, is out there and there is no control? And we could actually suffer. I mean, I'm not even saying that this is as potent or as violent a thing like genocide, but it can come close in terms of human rights violations. So while our data, or the security of this data, is not in our control anymore, how are we going to get that back in control? Or if we ever will, like we heard with the earlier speaker say, what's gone is gone, it's out there, I cannot do anything about it. The second question is data and artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence works on data. It is driven by data. As you heard, it's collected everywhere and it analyzes. So is there a possibility that the way you behave or conduct yourself in cyberspace would impact your credit ratings? The friends you have, your spending pattern, the kind of likes that you put on Facebook or Instagram, the kind of posts that you put, would it impact your credit rating, do you think? What do you think? Yes, no? Yes, it could. So, do we even know how it's going to impact our credit rating? We do not know. Should there be a certain element of transparency whereby we know that my particular conduct is going to go to a certain kind of result because some algorithm written by somebody in Hyderabad or Bangalore is going to impact the way the bank manager looks at me when he wants to give me a loan? I really have no idea. And we in India are a very data-rich country. You know, we are leaving amazing cyber trails. You know, our digital trail is huge. I'm going to ask you to do a little exercise. Don't do it now, because the organizers wouldn't like it. But when you go out, or when the session finishes, look at your screen time. It'll be somewhere between 4 to 6 hours. Yeah, now just do the math. That's the time I'm spending exposing myself to the internet. And there is data being gathered and analysis are being made on me, depending how many mails I sent, where do I shop, how do I shop, etc., so on and so forth. Now this artificial intelligence is completely uncontrolled, leading to the second element of violation or possible violation of human rights. The third one, and possibly the most important, and probably the one easiest to address, is data privacy. Now, we know in India the law has morphed from Karak Singh to the Puttaswamy judgment, and privacy is now a fundamental right. Also, some of you would be interested to know that privacy was first written about in the year 1890 because of the advent of two mechanisms. One was a camera and one was the telephone. So Warren and Brandis wrote an article in the Harvard Law Review stating that privacy is a right, and what is spoken of in a closed closet may actually be heard on the rooftop because of listening and photographic devices. So in 1890, privacy was recognized. It went on into being accepted under common law as a tort, and today we have come to the Puttaswamy judgment. In between, we had the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that recognized privacy. That was in 1948. The European Convention of Human Rights recognized privacy in 1950. And one of the most amazing documents, which you all must read, is the OECD Guidelines on Privacy. Okay, they have got 8 little points put together which really capture the essence of privacy. Maybe I'll just give you a brief overview of the 8 of them. There is collection of data, that the collection must be limited, the collection must be lawful, the collection must be with consent. The relevant principle says only relevant data may be collected. The purpose principle under OECD says that if you're collecting data, please tell the person for what purpose you're collecting. The limitation principle says that if you're going to use it beyond the purpose that you were initially going to use it, you've got to inform the person that I'm using it for a different purpose. It says the data collector has to store the data securely. The transparency principle says that the person who's providing the data can actually ask the data collector, what data of mine do you have and how you're going to use it, and that information has to be provided. The accountability principle says that the person who's collecting your data must be accountable for the safe storage of data. Now, this is 1960. We do know the GDPR has come out in the late 2010s, kind of it's 2018, the GDPR has come out. It captures all these principles and a lot more. Now, somewhere between GDPR, that is fairly stringent, and the US norms, which are much more lax, we have the Indian data protection guidelines, which I'm hoping the panelists would address and speak on how cogent they are, how consent-based they are. And I'll close now in the backdrop of this framework. Fintech, it's here to stay, needs data. Data can be violated in terms of privacy, security, and artificial intelligence, leading to a human rights issue. And in this framework, I would invite Jayant to please come and say a few words.
Good morning, everyone. Am I audible enough?
Yes.
So I have a habit of roaming around. I will just try to stick here. So my name is, that's okay. So I'm Jayant Razurkar. I'm working with the Aegis Life as Associate Vice President. So I'm a certified data scientist also. I'm a certified financial planner. And I have done my Six Sigma in quality also. Since last 18 years I'm working with the BFSI industry, particularly in life insurance industry. So I feel that I will be able to justify my session for next 15-20 minutes, because I have some idea about the data science, I have some idea about the financial planning, I have some idea about the rules and regulations which are applicable to BFSI industry. Okay, and if you have any questions, any queries, certainly we will try to answer those questions at the end of the session. So with this note, I will begin my session. So what is your understanding about the artificial intelligence and fintech? So these two are different words. Okay. So one is artificial intelligence, the other one is fintech. So sir has just told us what is the definition of fintech. So if you remember that mutual fund का जो disclaimer आता है advertisement में, टक 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 done. You remember that?
Yes.
Disclaimer. Fintech का वैसे कुछ definition है. Okay, but if you want to understand what is fintech, so what could it be? Fintech. Is bank fintech? Is insurance company a fintech company? Mutual fund company is a fintech company? Or fintech company is different something else? Any idea? No? Okay, so as I informed, what is fintech? Fintech is nothing but the financial technology. Okay, and who are the beneficiary of these financial technologies? The beneficiaries these companies: banking sector, insurance sector, mutual fund companies, share market. So they are the beneficiary. Okay, so if you have to say what is fintech, so we can say BFSI, which is the banking and finance sectors along with the insurance, is a fintech. Simply, एकदम सादे शब्दों में fintech is nothing but the BFSI industry. Okay. Now, what is artificial intelligence? We have been talking since last 1.5 hour about data science, artificial intelligence. So, what do you understand by artificial intelligence? What is artificial? Artificial तो बहुत artificial है, which is not natural, that is artificial, right? So artificial is clear. What is intelligence? So intelligence is what? Able to understand the situation and ability to take decision. Okay. So now if I have to combine both the words artificial intelligence, so what does it mean? There is some machine, some tool, some app who is capable of understanding the situation, understanding the problem, and then taking the decision also. So that is artificial intelligence. Now how does it gets involved in BFSI? So my session will try to cover those aspects only. How data science, how artificial intelligence, how machine learning, deep learning, these things are enabling the BFSI industry. Okay, so the small agenda of this session is we'll see what is artificial intelligence and machine learning. So these are again technical jargons. I'm not sure how many people are properly aware of these two things, but yes, I'll try to address those. How AI or machine learning is impacting fintech or BFSI sector. Okay, so that the second point is important point. What is the benefit we as a industry taking from the artificial intelligence sector? Okay. The third one, use case of AI and ML. AI is artificial intelligence, ML is machine learning. So what are the benefits that the BFSI sector is gaining from the AI fraternity? Okay, so we'll try to see those things. Now, do you remember the March 20 होली के बाद का समय 2020 लॉकडाउन आ गया था, right? So China has done something, and then everybody was there in house. We enjoyed that period because it was something unique experience. थाली वाली बजाई थी, दिए जलाए थे, so we did lot of things. So initially we enjoyed that. Okay, but there were people who suffered a lot. Okay, there were families who suffered a lot. There were casualties in families. Now, if you recall that period, there are certain industries, sectors which government asked or government forced to be opened. बाकी सब तो बंद कर दिया था, complete lockdown. But which are those industries, which are those sectors which were open that time? So first one is what? Medical sector, because बीमार पड़ रहे लोग तो फार्मेसी ओपन होनी चाहिए, हॉस्पिटल शुड बी ओपन, डॉक्टर शुड बी अवेलेबल, नर्सेज शुड बी देयर. So first thing which was kept out of this lockdown was medical fraternity. Which one was the other one? Sorry? Food industry. Correct. खाओगे पीओगे दिन तो लॉकडाउन को कैसे? And then bank. Okay, so you remember bank only, but the entire BFSI industry, because everything is related to money. So if there is no transaction happening in the country, how will the GDP perform? So we cannot just say that everything is closed. No banking transaction will take place. No insurance will be settled now. Cannot be said that. Okay. So BFSI or banking or insurance companies, those were asked to be kept open. And since I belong to insurance company, I remember those days we had to go to offices. We got some pass from the authorities. We used to show that pass to the police wala, and then उनको बोल के सर मैं insurance company में काम करता हूँ. Then they used to say okay जाओ. Why we have to go to the office? What was the reason? Being an insurance person, what is my importance in lockdown?
Because it was a medical emergency, insurance was important to pay out the hospitals.
Correct. Because everything it was related to medical emergencies only. Families are going through medical existences. People are getting admitted. Okay. And उन्होंने उसके लिए क्या लिया था? Insurance लिया था. So people had got medical policy. People had got life insurance policy. And if you are not there to serve them when they require your help, then what is the use of insurance company? So we are allowed to go to office. We are allowed to assess the proposals. We are allowed to evaluate the claim and then settle the claim. Okay. Similarly, banking sector. So I don't belong to bank, but yes, I remember bank भी open थे. 24 घंटे वो लोग काम कर रहे थे. Transactions चल रहा था. Okay. Now, are the 100% people available in the banks or insurance companies offices? No. So there was a limit. Corporation का एक circulation आया था. More than 20% people cannot go to office at time. Then it increased to 30%, 40%, 50%. But initially it was just 20% of the total occupancy. You are not allowed to have more than 20% people sitting in the office. कोरोना फैल जाएगा भाई. 3 फीट दूर रहो, 5 फीट दूर रहो. Right? Now, if 20% people are working, who is doing the rest of the job of 80% people? Work from home. Okay. So initially तो work from home में challenges थे. सर्वर नहीं चल रहा है, लैपटॉप नहीं चल रहा है. वो आईटी वाला बोल रहा है सर एक दिन तो ऑफिस आना पड़ेगा आपको, मुझे वो इंस्टॉल करना पड़ेगा. एक ऑप्स करके कोई चीज़ थी हमारे पास. So we develop some solutions. Okay. So banking sector, insurance sector, they develop some solution कि can we look at the scenarios or alternate solution where IT can help, information technology can help us. Instead of person sitting and scrutinizing the form, can machine do that job? Today we know everything is done by machine only. Your KYC. So sir was talking about the KYC. You know KYC? Know your customer. Okay. Now who does that KYC? Is on today? Machines only. We do video KYC. अभी machine में भी मतलब video KYC. तो person sitting there in some town and यहाँ पे बैठ के मुंबई के हेड ऑफिस बैठ के उसका KYC हो जाता है. I have some examples. There are some people who take pension from government. Pensioners जो होते हैं ना, उनको life certificate देना होता है. They have to prove that they are alive. Now, what was the practice earlier? My father used to go to. There is a small place in Madhya Pradesh called as Chinwada. My father has to go to Chinwada from Mumbai just to tell them कि बॉस मैं जिंदा हूँ, मेरी पेंशन चालू रखो. तो SBI के बैंक में जाते थे, SBI के ऑफिस में लाइफ सर्टिफिकेट देते थे, उनका फोटो खींचते थे, सर्टिफाइड करते थे. Now today he doesn't have to go even to the bank. वो एक लिंक आता है, yes, लिंक आता है, लिंक पे उसको क्लिक करना होता है पेंशनर को, एंड देन ही हैज टू सर्टिफाई दैट ही इज अलाइव. Who is certifying that he is alive? He is Jayant Razurkar who is giving that confirmation. Who is doing that? Machine is doing that. Now how does machine get to know कि वो जयंत राजूरकर ने ही लिंक क्लिक किया है, जयंत राजूरकर ही जिंदा है? Biometrics and there are so many. No. ये सब चीज़ें इतनी चेंज हो चुकी है ना, so there are so many things happening back at the back end. We also do video KYC, we also do video medicals. So you might be knowing that when someone applies for insurance policy, there are certain criteria, medical वगैरह करना पड़ता है, because we cannot just offer insurance to everyone. ठीक है, there is a risk of death, but we do video medicals also. Now how the machine get to know whether this person is having cancer, diabetes, or high BP, hypertension? Those machines just read the report, medical report, then identify the pattern. So suppose you are showing your report, you are submitting your medical report, and the medical report says diabetes is this, hypertension is this, BP reading are this, cancer no, how many cigarettes you smoke, number of cigarettes, how many pack do you have in a week or in a month, वो सब है. Now after assessing those things, the model, the machine, they decide whether we should offer insurance to this person or not, basis the details given by the proposer. Okay. Now, is machine capable of taking those kind of decisions, whether we should issue a policy to this person or not? Yes. We don't need any manual, so those are called the underwriters. Okay, so we don't require manual underwriters now. They are there to assess the high risk profile cases. But for people who are just applying for basic sum assured, basic insurance, machines do this job. They go through the data provided in the proposal form, they find the old pattern, and then basis that old pattern, old data, old set of customers, they say दे दो, they say मत दो, they say कि 6 महीने बाद दो क्योंकि डायबिटीज कम हो रहा है, 6 महीने में और कम हो जाएगा तब देंगे. So then we issue proposal, we decline proposal, sometimes we postpone the proposal also. Getting it? So what I am trying to explain that in insurance, in banking, in mutual fund, in share market, the artificial intelligence is heavily involved. Okay, so it is again going to get involved in your domain also, that is legal domain. So before the start of the session, I was just discussing with my seniors that last week I met one of my compliance officers in my company, and I told them कि सर हम लोग AI का यूज़ क्यों नहीं करते, क्यों नहीं कर सकते. So whenever I ask any query to them, compliance team or legal team, they give me some Insurance Act 1938 का एक इतना बड़ा पैराग्राफ. My simple query was whether we should allow withdrawal or surrender to this customer or not. छोटा सा क्वेरी है, क्या ये कस्टमर सरेंडर कर सकता है पॉलिसी? इसका आंसर क्या होना चाहिए? कर सकता है या नहीं कर सकता है. बट व्हाट जनरली दे डू, दे सेंड द एंटायर पैराग्राफ, इंश्योरेंस एक्ट 1938 सेक्शन दिस इतना ये लिखो. नाउ इंटरप्रेट. हु विल इंटरप्रेट? Am I the right person to interpret? I am a business guy. I will not be able to interpret that. Okay, so it's a challenging task. So what AI can do there in legal I can say laws, that can we summarize, can we have some case studies, can we have some pattern basis those things, we can just give some solution to the questioner. So if I ask can this person surrender the policy, so the model should be able to tell me yes he can surrender. कुछ फ्रॉड होने के चांसेस है 90% नहीं है या 90% है. Okay, so someone has to come and tell me. Who can do that? Machine can do that. But again, how can machine do that? We need to tell machine, no? We need to teach machine. बहुत सारा डेटा देना पड़ेगा मशीन को, बहुत सारी केस स्टडीज देनी पड़ेगी, बहुत सारे कोर्ट के जो पुराने केसेस है, पुराने डिसीजन है, जो हियरिंग हुई, वो सब चीज़ें देनी पड़ेगी मशीन में. So more the data you provide machine, better the machine will learn, and then better machine will be able to give the judgment or decision. Okay. So this is the small agenda which I was trying to cover. Most of the things I just verbally told you. So again, coming back to the fintech definition. So I have already told you what is fintech. Now again, I am not going to get into the detailing of the fintech. Yeah, it's a difference. So I have taken it from World Economic Forum website. So simply, what is fintech? Financial technology. Okay. Who uses financial technologies? BFSI. Okay. So particularly bank, insurance companies, mutual fund companies, share market, okay, commodities, whatever. So they are the beneficiaries of fintech domain. Okay. This you know what is artificial intelligence? I try to explain you what is artificial, what is intelligence, and if we put both together, the definition is like it's a decision taking capability of a machine. Okay, so that is artificial intelligence. What is machine learning? So I can say it's a subset of artificial intelligence, but it's a different pattern to give decision. So in artificial intelligence, generally mostly I can give an example of artificial intelligence is a driverless car. Okay, so there is no driver, but car is capable of making you ensure that you reach the destination. You are sitting backside. So that is artificial intelligence. Who is taking the decision? Left जाना है, right जाना है, slow होना है, ऊपर चढ़ना है? The machine, which is there inside the car. Okay, so that is artificial intelligence. What is machine learning? Machine learning is more about the predictive modeling. So machine learning is give you some prediction, give you some chances, opportunity, likelihood. So these are the models which will tell you ये केस में जीतने के चांसेस कितने हैं, ठीक है, ये केस में जीतने के चांसेस कितने नहीं हैं. Okay, so machine learning is we can say is a kind of predictive modeling. So predict करते हैं हम लोग कि इसमें if I invest in this stock, this currency, what are the chances I am going to get 10% returns in next 1 year? That model will tell you. Okay, that model will help you to understand if there are chances or there are no chances. Okay, so predictive modeling is widely used in banking sector, just to by the HR people to retain the people. Okay, so they get to know who is likely to leave the company, कौन छोड़ने वाला है, कौन नहीं छोड़ने वाला है, ठीक है. Who are the customers who may shift their account from a bank to some other bank, churning जिसको हम लोग बोलते हैं. So those kind of predictive modeling is done by the machine learning models. Okay, so we understood what is artificial intelligence, we also understood what is machine learning, and we also try to see what are the benefits, what are the use cases in BFSI industry. Now these are few regulators in BFSI sectors. I'm sure you know these regulators. RBI regulates the banking sector. Okay. IRDA, Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, which regulates insurance industry, which is life insurance, health insurance, general insurance. There is PFRDA. How many people know about PFRDA? It's a regulator like RBI. कोई सब यहाँ पे अश्वत्थामा है? Sorry? Perfect. Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority. Okay, which controls the pension. So we know that हम लोग कोई अमर नहीं रहने वाले. So कहीं ना कहीं कुछ ना कुछ तो होने वाला है. But after a certain age, after 58, after 60, what we'll do? So you guys can continue your practices because you are lawyers. Doctors can continue their practice, but people like me, we don't have any other choice but to go for the retirement plans. ठीक है, pension plan. So who controls those pension domain? The PFRDA. Okay. Now SEBI. What SEBI does? What controls SEBI? Security and Exchange Board of India. Simply बोलो तो share market. Okay. So these are the few regulators which controls the entire finance industry in India. Okay. Now, what are the basic regulations they have? What are the basic rules they have? So there are laundry list of rules and regulations. आप लोगों को पता है ना? You are better aware of those rules and regulations than me. But what are the basic rules? सारे rules कहाँ पे घूमते हैं? एक ही जगह पे आते हैं, customer focused. Right? So what are those basic rules? Like when you want to open an account, when you want to enter some person in your bank, in your insurance company, in your mutual fund company, just do KYC. Okay, know your customer before allowing him to enter in your bank, in your insurance company. Why do we do KYC? What is the main reason behind that?
Money laundering, to prevent money laundering.
Perfect. To prevent money laundering. Okay. Now this is a complicated topic, money laundering. So we can again discuss on money laundering. So what are the different stages of money laundering? Placement, layering, integration, black को white कैसे करना है? So all these things are getting covered in money laundering. But why do we do KYC? To prevent that there is no money laundering involved in banking transactions or in insurance transactions. Otherwise, someone will come to my insurance company and say कि बॉस मुझे 1 लाख रुपए का इंश्योरेंस खरीदना है. Yeah, I want to invest 50 lakh rupees in your insurance company. Sales वाला बंदा खुश हो जाएगा. But he will say कि मेरा टारगेट अचीव हो गया, 50 लाख आ रहा है. And if I don't do KYC, what are the consequences? I don't know that money is black money or white money. I don't know the source of the fund. Okay. So now Ministry of Finance clearly instructed all the BFSI industry, all the companies to do KYC, thorough KYC, stringent KYC whenever new person wants to enter in your company. That should not be an adverse selection. Okay, and that's why we do KYC. Similarly, we do life certificate because again I was telling you, life certificate is required when we have to pay the pension. Okay, so life certificate. Underwriting. What is underwriting? Underwriting is nothing but the scrutiny of your proposal. So bank also do the underwriting. Mainly underwriting is getting done by the insurance companies. They underwrite the proposal. They go through all your physical information. Okay, what is your height? What is your weight? What are the habits that you have? Your occupation, your hobbies. So they underwrite each and everything. And basis that underwriting, they take decision whether insurance is to be given or not given or to be postponed. Okay. Now these things are, why I am telling you these are the basic rules. Now these are the basic rules which are now handled by the AI, handled by machine learning, handled by models. So we don't need people sitting there in the office and underwriting each and every proposal. We get thousands of proposals every day. And it's very difficult to a person to manually check each and every details and then take decision कि इसको देना है कि नहीं देना है. सिगरेट 4 पीता है दिन भर में. But if machine can do that job, that will be easier, that will be faster, that will be more efficient maybe. क्योंकि मशीन नहीं बोल सकती मेरा मूड खराब है यार, मैं सुट्टा मार के आता हूँ उसके बाद देखूंगा. वो आदमी बोल सकता है वैसा. उसके बाद भी वो डिसीजन क्या लेगा पता नहीं. He may deny, he may accept, he may allow adverse selection to be come in the pool, and then we may face the set claim. Right? So all these things are getting done by the machines, getting done by the models, by the tools which are artificially intelligent enough to take decision. Okay. Now just see what is the use cases of AI in BFSI sector. So I am just trying to, again this is a PwC data, the recent one, where the AI is impacting more customer experience. So we each and every company is now trying to give better experience to customer when he or she onboards. Okay. So what kind of AI we are doing? So पहले क्या होता था ना, the banker or the insurance agent or the mutual fund agent used to come to your office, your premises, your home, and then yes sir इतना बड़ा list है documents का, please submit these documents. Your account will get opened and then you can start transaction. Now those days are gone. You don't have to physically meet the person. You can just go to website of the bank or website of the insurance company and buy anything. You have to provide your documents. Obviously you have to do your KYC, the basic document, the basic requirement that you have to be provided. Now once you provide those documents, who will scrutinize those documents? Again, there is no person. Everything will be done by the machine. So there are some models built in. Again, those models will go through your data, and then they will decide whether to allow you enter or not. Okay, so we are trying to give that experience to customer where he can feel that मेरा इतना smoothly onboarding हो गया इस बैंक में, मेरा इतना smoothly onboarding हो गया इस insurance company में. So there we are using AI. Okay, so capturing live photo, getting the video KYC done. Customer doesn't have to go anywhere. Mobile पे बैठ के सब कुछ उसका हो जाएगा. So that kind of experience we want to give to each and every customer. E means the entire industry. How it is helping in improving productivity? Again, the manual intervention is now getting lower and lower. So everything is getting done by the models, machines. Okay, so obviously the productivity will go up. Okay, and similarly, there is a course called which will reduce the cost also. So it doesn't mean that we are laying off the people. We are still recruiting, we are hiring people, we are increasing the size. But we are also using the technology. We are also using the AI. We are also using the machine learning, deep learning, NLPs, so that we reduce on cost. Okay. So now, if you find, sorry, if you see, the customer segmentation is also getting done by the models, the machines. Now, if I have to launch a new product as an insurance company, I have to launch a new product. What will I do? What was the traditional approach? Market में जाके survey करो, लोगों से पूछो, ठीक है? Get the survey sampling अलग अलग होना चाहिए इस age group में, male, female, urban, rural, geography wise, north, south. So physically those survey used to be conducted earlier. Now we don't do those physical surveys. What we are doing, we are taking feedback from the customer. We are asking some certain questions to them. ठीक है? We are trying to identify what kind of buying habit the people are having now. Okay, so I was talking about the Amazon and Flipkart. So there you see recommendation engines coming. So whenever you search any particular thing, home decor. तो होम डेकोर के साथ फिर 4 चीज़ें नीचे भी आपको दिखेगी, रिकमेंडेशन में दिखेगी. नाउ who decide what to be recommended to that person? It's machine. How does machine decide that? Basis your past history. कभी तो सर्च किया होगा, कभी फेसबुक पे कोई पोस्ट डाला होगा, I want to go to स्विट्जरलैंड. अब ये स्विट्जरलैंड जाने की तुम्हारी तमन्ना है, वो तमन्ना फेसबुक को पता चल गई. अभी तुम कभी कुछ करोगे तो स्विट्जरलैंड की फोटोज, एडवर्टाइजमेंट, ट्रैवल एजेंट की वो सब चीज़ें आना चालू हो जाएगी. Okay, so that's how AI or machine learning is capable of knowing your choices. Getting it? So AI is helping in reducing the cost, increasing revenues. Okay, and your point, it also is helping to ensure the compliances. So rules and regulations should be adhered to. There is no second thought on that. And we are taking help of AI and machine learning models to be more compliant on the rules and regulations given by the regulator, the IRDA, the RBI, the SEBI. Understood? The bottom graph also talks about the automation or AI impact specifically on these areas. Chat automation. So now we don't have to speak to salesperson, or we don't have to speak to banker. We can get our queries resolved through chatbot. So chatbot में आप text करते हो, text का आपका reply आता है. There are voice chatbots also now. Okay, you must have heard about this Google का Lambda. So Lambda is an app where you can ask anything. You can talk to paper plane also. You can talk to freeze also, and freeze will tell about the feature of that freeze. So that kind of voice chatbot are now getting developed. So each and every insurance company, each and every banking sector, each and every mutual fund company is now having those kind of voice chatbots and text chatbots where you can get your queries resolved. Okay. Fraud detection, the core area of fraud detection. So there are fraudulent transactions which are still happening in banking sector, in insurance sector, in mutual fund sector, in share market also. Now, can we predict those frauds? Yes, we can. The models are capable enough to predict those frauds in advance. So whenever the model get to know a specific trend, model give red alerts to the administrator or to the owner of that model, and basis that red alert, they take preventive action before that fraud takes place. Okay, so the AI is helping fraud detection also. Then again, virtual assistants, that which is again going to cover in Metaverse, I guess, or voice bots. We are trying to create virtual environment also where people can be sitting at home. People will imagine that they are visiting bank, so they can feel that the people are sitting in bank. The person is sitting at home only, but he is getting that feel that he is visiting branch. So that is virtual assistance. Okay. Then customer profiling. So I talked about segmentation. So which product to be launched, where to be pitched, which is the right segment. So all these things are now getting enabled by AI and machine learning models. So I hope you are able to understand what I am trying to say. Okay, so AI and machine learning or deep learning or NLP, now these are the part of each and every company, not only for BFSI industry but for each and every company, whether it's automobile company or pharma company or telephone company. So everyone is using in each and every industry. These AI is now part of their life. Okay. So I'll skip this slide. So these are some use cases which I already told about you. So I think, sir, we will take questions at last. Okay. So I am open for the questions. I will be happy to answer your questions. I skip few slides because I already covered those things in my verbal discussion with you. So I skip few slides. Okay, with this note, I am just.
Thank you, Mr. Rajurkar. That was really quite enthralling in the amount of information you gave us on machine learning and AI. In fact, one very interesting point you did make was how Fintech actually helped us protect human rights during COVID by allowing banking and insurance and food supplies to continue. So while normally we would expect that Fintech would be actually opposing human rights, I thought you made a very valid point. That how Fintech actually supported basic human rights. But I must caution you, I got some very difficult questions coming for you a little later.
Sure.
Yes. So that. Okay. Mr. Anu Tiwari, partner from Cyril Amachan Bandula.
Thank you so much, Professor. The challenge with being the third speaker is most of the content gets already covered. And that to take a pre-lunch speaker, I can already see a few drooping eyes. So I'm just rethinking how do I engage all of you for the next 20 minutes. Because what is FinTech, law regulation, and I have not covered AI ML. It's an area which is highly evolving, and there is Metaverse, AI ML. Today, it's a bit of a the whole quite literally metaphysics level for lawyers, because the challenge with AI is who do you hold responsible? If AI does something wrong, right? There is no human being. Who do you invoke and apply an IPC? So it raises some very interesting ethical questions. And forget India, the world right now is grappling with it. It will be good to see what laws China has framed on this, given how advanced they are in AI. Let me just limit to FinTech and try and give this audience, given budding practitioners in this room, some practitioners' perspective. What do we do when we as lawyers advise clients? What all areas do we see? And break it into three broad parts. what is fintech? Of course, let me address it, but maybe in a different way. And accordingly, dovetails into what is the law, regulation, and very importantly, policy. Policy often gets forgotten. Policy is where law should be. Law regulation is past tense. Policy is what is the gap, how business is run ahead of regulators and laws. So how should rule making happen? Which probably after a point is a bit of a Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The topmost, which is where most practitioners, it's a crystal ball gazing analogy with lots of experts and pundits. And in last part, we suggest what the future is. Why are we doing this event? Why did the organizers thought this topic is important? Why not contract? Why not civil? Why not criminal? Why this topic? Because clearly there's a future element to it, right? And we'll try and see if we were doing this session 3 or 5 years down the line, what would we be talking, which would be different from what we're discussing right now. So, what's fintech? Actually, let me try and think what is not fintech. May help better. When you go to deposit or buy gold physically, that's not fintech. When you go to a locker in SBI, to put whatever you want to put, there is not fintech. When you write a check, it's not fintech. Though there is NEFT, RTGS, so there is an element of tech involved, but let's say for the customer, it's not fintech. When of course you go to buy insurance physically, you go to a mutual fund distributor physically, you go to a bank branch, it is not fintech. Now, I would like to ask this room, how often or when is the last time anybody here went to buy gold physically, went to a locker physically, or a bank branch physically? Even before pandemic, forget pandemic. I hate going to bank branch because unless it's some city premium customer kind of an experience where they have tea, coffee for you at the entrance, really it's not fun. And the problem is banks work from Monday to Friday, which is when most people who earn money to deposit in the bank have a day job, right? Which is why SBI has this very interesting thing. Their offices are open, actually branches on Sunday also, till half day. So I think none of you, right, really went to do anything connected with part of fintech physically. And Professor Kishu has already taken my Barclays ATM example, so that was my starting point. So let's see,
just to put you on the spot, I have been to a bank physically in the recent past, but that's my age.
See, that's one out of I think 100 plus. But again, how often is also the question. It's once after 3-4
I
years.
was lousy bankers.
So is the experience? Let me ask you, why did you go?
So obviously there was am I audible? Yeah. So this discussion into my there. So obviously it's a failure of fintech. There's a failure of fintech. There's a failure of communication via email. There's a failure of the standard form of banking today, and consequently I have to.
Or of that package.
Or of that branch even.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So actually, this is there are many neo-banks, digital banks who are trying to solve for exactly the problem you had, because clearly there was some human being sitting at the end who had a list, and if your request was beyond that list, it's very automated. They have a process sheet. If it doesn't work there, come and see me, and then you go through the process and you ask yourself, why do I exist? Why do I bank with this bank? Those questions. But okay, so and actually it's fintech, right? So anybody who's in fin, and fin is banking has been happening from the days of Medicis and Florence. The word bank actually means bench. They would put across some river benches where anybody could come go and deposit their coins or whatever. So actually there's nothing new in financial services. I truly feel at the cost of others disagree. Insurance, again, the history is very interesting. It's those I think Scottish widows which created war widows. So the concepts have been there for a long time. But what happened over the years is what tech did, right, is you could watch something on television, you could talk to somebody on the phone, radio. You don't have to be live, you could see live from TV. Right? Same with the world of financial services. I don't have to deal with a human being. I can be at home, right? And it's very interesting how dots are connected. because there is a school of thought which says every company is fintech. Every company, a metal, a mining, a cement, a telecom. I mean, telecom is probably the biggest use case of fintech. That's because anybody who, I recall in the pandemic I had engaged a Zoom yoga instructor, right? I mean, how do I pay the person through UPI, right? Correct? And think of use cases, why what fintech is important, because what then law is becomes very relevant. E-com we've talked about. How do I pay? What is buy now, pay later? Buy now, pay later is a financial services, so-called fintech, right? It's become huge world over. Where I buy something and pay later. Now, how does, say, an Amazon or a Flipkart engage the vendors by giving NBFC, vendor financing, right? Checkout financing, again, is a great, where I can use my wallet or I can use all the, now I think one has got to go through 10 screens to see what all checkout options are there. It's no longer bank or debit or credit or UPI. I think from simple to lazy, it just takes a while. When I check out in Zomato, just the discounts one gets to see, right? And I click on the simple Zomato because basis what card and what fintech product is a 2-3 screens it takes. So anything you buy, any platform economy, think of, ride hailing, think of, I have been seeing buy now pay later emails coming to my inbox from SpiceJet. Buy now pay later. Buy now pay later is classic fintech product. Ride hailing, booking, airlines, any service or any product which you are consuming through a platform, which is not through a physical interface, not going to a booking agent, for example, or not saying a taxi roko kind of a model, has a fintech element. Anybody who is selling anything physical, for example, if I have to buy, say these bulbs, I can go on Godrej website where I can click and pick and pay, right? I don't know if there's an option to buy now pay later at Godrej app or website, but it will have a checkout. How do I pay? I can pay through multiple options. Who then pays it? Very often my bank or GPay may not pay it. There's a payment aggregator. There's a pipe which is paying. So there is a bank or which can be giving you debit or credit. Credit is loan, which is credit card. That's called issuer. Issuer is whose customer I am, which is from where money is drawn, either through a loan or debit. Then it gets pushed through a pipe. That pipe is Visa, MasterCard. That pipe is UPI, because UPI actually pulls money out of my account to another bank. It goes to payment aggregators like BillDesk, CC Avenue, Stripe, many such examples. And finally hits the merchant's account. The settlement can happen later or instantly, and it's an acquiring bank, which is why you see these Pine Labs checkout machines, where you can pay through tap, increasingly hopefully through face also, as in China. This is just the product I'm talking about. There is mergers, acquisitions in this space. There is disruptors. There's always this East Coast, West Coast dichotomy. In this case, in India, the very East Coast, which is New York equivalent, is Mumbai, the banking capital. The West Coast, which is the SF Bay Area equivalent, is Bangalore, which wants to disrupt the way finance is done. Right? And this has always been there. In every growing economy, always the established and disruptors in any industry. We have professor who's from GLC in MNLU, Mumbai, which is just trying to disrupt GLC. Right? So this is a classic case of an established and a disruptor. So same logic in insurance. What is InsurTech? What is GoDigit? What is CoverFox? What is Echo? You could buy insurance from LIC, right? Actually, I still prefer because that's the bigger point. The challenge with fin, because finance is a business of trust, and it takes years to build that trust. Mutual fund distribution, again, you can click and buy either from directly HDFC, AMC website, or you can go to Aegis, which is an aggregator, or you can go to any of these the new age See, that's the other thing with aggregation economies, which is aggregator. So not a producer, but somebody who's aggregating other producers. Marketplace, as it's called. And think of it in a very real estate term, Zara is the shop in a Phoenix. Phoenix is the one aggregating all the various shops, and it's been digitized. Correct. I mean, you're not going to Zara, but you're going to Amazon to buy Zara. If Zara sells on Amazon. And this is so banks. Why banks want to get into tech? There's a lot of today only while coming here, I read Governor Das's statement, the RBI governor, saying banks need to do more on tech. A statement came recently which said banks missed out on UPI, to which a good counter came from publicly stated counter from Mr. Chaudhary, Axis Bank, saying we don't have money to burn. Because it is a loss making, because there is zero MDR. MDR is the money you make by pushing money. For example, in US, a lot of these global unicorns can earn 14-15% by just pushing money. In India, it's capped on debit at 0.5, credit at prox 2, and UPI, which is 0. So, which is the biggest challenge in India with lending is a world in itself. I won't even go down there. NBFCs, small finance banks, old banks, new banks, public sector, private sector, foreign banks, disruptor banks, banking aspirants, fintechs who want to get into banking. Ultimately, it's a holy grail at some level. What else do we have? Wallets, again, great product. A product where you get cash backs. So as a company, I want to put the money not in your account because it's gone, in your wallet, because then you have to come back and buy from the merchants I have. That's what it's called semi-closed, as opposed to a open. Open is like a debit card. Semi-closed is identified merchants. So you have to come back and buy from me. It's evolving into very interesting, P2P lending. Again, is an area where any of you who have used these P2P lending products have spare money. There's a separate NBFC guideline for it. Account aggregator as a framework. Supposedly the possibilities, it's like the ONDC equivalent in the financial services data world. Of course, the moment, as Professor Daswani said, the moment I'm dealing with tech, 3-4, my screen time ends up being 11-12 hours per day. Not a good thing, but that's the nature of the profession. So imagine how much data you collect and where is all of this going. Digital data protection bill, but even before that, there's a lot the central bank RBI has done to protect your and my data. Actually, over the last 2 years, the pandemic coming actually coincided with a lot of bad practices. In times of in war, I think profiteering is the highest. Some ancient saying. So chaos. In the Chinese saying basis, which this documentary is on Netflix. In clear water, you catch no fish. The analogy is if things are chaotic, you always get figured out. So a lot of digital lenders came trying to be the saviors for migrant workers, for students. It just became free for all, which led to a cleanup of the digital lending sector. Also, stress levels in retail sectors are rising because to give money is very easy, right? If I say you want money, you will say yes. To collect is where the trick is. So that is on, but all this is creating data. So increasingly, tokenization. I think many of you would have been locked out of Apple, iPhone, or Netflix subscription starting a few months ago. Why? Because your card data had to be tokenized by your issuing bank, which is the bank who's giving you the card, and by the Visa, MasterCard, the card schemes. It cannot go beyond that to anybody in a non-tokenized way. And why this? What was the reason for this? Because, and I think sir, you can comment on this. I believe data security and cyber security you can confirm only at this second. When the second is gone, at the other second you can't confirm. That's the nature of the beast. That's how evolving data security, cyber security is. So the logic is, I will as a regulator only allow, also let's take a step back, what is privacy? Do I care about privacy unless I lose money? If somebody were to steal my pictures from Facebook, of course there'll be emotional attachment to it, but take it. I have put it up on the public forum only because I want to show the world, right? And we are in Asian societies where 10 people stay in a 10 by 10. And Asians don't care about privacy. We love to gossip, especially in India, right? Privacy or data protection is about saving your money because of phishing, scamming, card data. Actually, the real issue is card data. When I punch in my card number or my OTP, You should not create a mirror and take it away. All the various data scams have been around card data, which is real loss. The last 2 years, coinciding with the pandemic, a lot of changes the regulator, RBI in particular, has done to ensure that only licensed players have access to data, and strict restriction. Forget even purpose limitation or you can share, not share. No. Even if I consent to the bank, by the way, saying you can share my data, there is a confidentiality charter which is across PFRDA, IRDA, RBI and SEBI, and this can cover potentially 20-30 licenses. This is the world we're talking about. Where even with my consent, the bank can't share. And why this? Because of maturity levels. Because India is not just in Powai or in Colaba. It's also in Aurangabad and Bihar and Orissa, and Kerala and J&K. Because you don't even know. Today when I click, I accept, I don't know what I'm accepting. And I don't know where my data is going. Because I don't know. The point exactly Professor made initially, right? You don't know where data and footprint is going. So what RBI in particular has done is it's created this walled garden that financial data, and actually financial data is not a transaction data. What will you do? If you see me buying, something from a website, you'll start sending messages, which is why these calls will increase a lot recently, right? We all keep getting, I don't pick up calls now, which I don't know. I think many of you do, because you don't know who's calling you, because your data number is all over, right? When we sign into some building society, some security guard takes my phone number, I don't know who he or she will give it to. And even try struggling to find a solution to this, so it's that big a mess, forget DND and all. But at least my card data, which is where I can use money. This whole Juvantara, this is very interesting. Right, correct. The whole, and very often our drivers, maids, cooks genuinely fall for it. It happened to my driver recently. GPay account got locked out, clicked GPay support service. First hit was a fraud hit, and then instantly any desk access to the phone and gone. And the brazenness is that sir, aap aur dalo, फिर देंगे वापस. And because they are, for them, losing 20, 30, 40,000 is accounting. Imagine if your account is wiped out. I mean, it's your life's work, so to speak. I mean, it may be a small number for them, but it aggregates through multiples. So the real problem was this with data. And that, I won't say has been solved, but at least what regulators can do is try and ensure whose neck I catch. You may have read about China don't have issue. It was in the papers a lot, right? Arrests and ED and suicides by people who were being chased by so-called digital lenders. What was the issue? If today, for example, Jayant says, I will give you a loan. Come, take loan from me, and you take loan from me. Right? And he starts calling your mother, father, kids saying, paisa nahi de raha hai. They can't do anything. Because it's illegal lending activity, not licensed. Only local cops can go under local money lending laws, which are pre-colonial, 1908, 1910, Saukari laws, as we used to call them. Where anybody who is lending, like village money lender, had to license with the state collector. I mean, any colonial law is amazing because all kind of penalties, there's no human rights in those laws. I don't know if any of you actually read the Epidemic Act. It was a one-page law, and the section 3 is I can do anything. Today, technically, your house can be. That's the beauty of colonial laws. So coming back to the point, the whole challenge is regulator cannot do anything to sir in this case because I don't license you. So what they try to do, and again, if I try to license anybody, how many people? It's like also as a regulator. Last point, and I'll just stop and just one thought of the future which I missed. A regulator doesn't want to have any children. The same way you don't, because you have to supervise them. The more people I license, I want to license. See, regulation department is about licensing, supervision is supervising. If something goes wrong, who's blaming? It's RBI, right? So, laws, policy, a lot has happened, and Fintech actually is like a world in itself because of all the regulators that Sir talked about and categories. Now, what is the future? I think the future is, I would say disruptive, because the likes of SBI's, JP Morgan's have been there forever. It took HDFC 30, 40, 35 years, 93, when you got back license with IDFC to become who they've become. So you don't get overnight success. It's not Facebook or Twitter. Within 2 years, you become a billionaire. financial service. But the future probably is when banks are going to get more tech savvy. Bank websites, when their apps will look like apps on our websites. Just typically how banks, migrate to apps. You just copy paste website into apps. They'll become more, the whole tech will become nimbler. Already, by some reports, JP Morgan is committing $13 billion through M&A and greenfield to become tech heavy. Your card schemes will fight back. It's not like they'll sit back. We may see, the way I see probably, I hope more digital banking licenses. Maybe I paper was there, this has been talked about. The regulator may approach it differently because more banks means more problems also. Cross-border, UPI can become cross-border, and I'm not even going to go into CBDC and cryptocurrency, digital bank rupee, because that can take a session altogether. Its implication again is profound. So potentially next time probably we have this session and I ask who went to the branch. We won't even have a single person. Probably Professor Daswani would not have gone to a bank branch then. And in this bank, whichever the bank is, and the officer would have become more tech heavy because the board of directors would have ensured that he doesn't have to go to a bank branch in future. I think that's where future may lie.
Okay. Well, thank you. That is very informative. And I can see, both the gentlemen here are very, very pro-tech, right? Don't you get that feeling? So let me put a spanner in the works. See, Anu said he doesn't mind if anybody takes his photos or his data, and because he's got nothing to hide. Is that right?
It's on Facebook actually.
Can I have your phone? Unlocked, please. Right? You know what I could do, and the tech people say, I could take my phone over this and all the data could get transferred to my phone. That's likely to happen.
Facebook, I said Facebook. I said not my
See, the disclaimer came through. Just kidding. Just kidding, yeah. So, sorry, this is just anecdotal. The point is we are okay with some amount of compromising of data because that is simply the way we have to live. See, that's simply and that makes life easy for us. But at the same time, the topic of today is there a human right violation when I am giving my data out? Now, I'd go to Jen with a question, and I've been wanting to ask you this while you were talking. Is my application for insurance to your company, or any insurance company, gonna be reduced to a bunch of bytes, wherein I'm going to be compared with a standard model male in India who is eligible for insurance or not? Or is there going to be a question of my, as you said, hobbies? So I play badminton, but I used to play badminton for Maharashtra state. Does that make a difference from somebody else who just plays badminton? What about my ethnicity? So there's so many factors that it's impossible for machine learning or AI to factor in. And having said that, would it be my violation of a human right if my insurance policy is not taken up, is rejected? If, for example, my claim is rejected for some reason, because there is an algorithm in a machine written on X amount of data collected, probably of 1 million Indians, and it's probably there, and I'm going to be matched or compared to those 1 million, where every human being is really unique. There is no doctor who's going to, pull down my eyeballs and see or tell me, stick your tongue out and I want to see exactly how you are. So this disconnect between a machine-based approach to a human-based approach raises a concern of human rights. So how do you address this in terms of real time, either taking up a policy, dispensing a claim, and the third point, when I'm making an insurance policy application online, there is so much information that is not given to me because, as you were talking about the law statement, there's a flood of clauses and there is the disclaimers which I just press, I tick mark, I accept, because I'm so desperate to get the policy at that time, right? I accept. If you tell me 10 tick marks, I'll do 10 tick marks. But there's no agent across telling me, look sir, this is a problem that you're going to face. This is something unique for you. So how do you counter this in terms of, I'm coring this question down to human rights.
Hello. Can I hear me? Yes. So coming to your first part of the question, if a person who is playing badminton, that person is playing badminton for a state or for a nation, yes. And there is another person who is just playing badminton for his hobby. So how do a machine differentiate between two? Okay. Now, so when you particularly insurance, so I'm not talking about the opening a bank account or buying a mutual fund, but when you buy life insurance, then you are asking insurance company to settle claim whenever it arises. Okay. Now you pay a very small amount of premium. So for example, if you are buying a term plan, protection plan, you just pay 3,000 rupees, 4,000 rupees, and you buy 10 lakhs cover. So what is the risk that company is having? If something goes wrong with the proposer or policy holder, company has to pay 10 lakh rupees. Okay. Who pays 10 lakh rupees? Is it the company or a pool of the people? Basically the pool of the people.
Or the insurer.
Or the reinsurers. Okay. So even reinsurer भी एक lifetime का बोलेगा कि boss I can just pay 3 lakh rupees for remaining 7 lakhs you have to arrange. Okay. Now so insurance is a business of pooling and then sharing. So we collect premium from so many people. We get the data from government, how many people die at particular age. So for example, government says that only 8 people dies out of 1,000 people at particular 30 age. So I know if there are 1,000 people who are willing to buy insurance and I have to pay claim only for 8 people, I have to set the premium accordingly. Okay. Now if customer doesn't disclose his hobbies, okay, his eating habits, his playing habits, his sports habits, so we call it a hazard. So there are 3 kinds of hazard that we generally cover. One is physical hazard. So if he is not disclosing whether he is diabetic or not, he is not disclosing what are the illnesses that guy is having.
So this, I'm in agreement. Sorry to interject,
Yeah.
but I think more of us are concerned at this point in time over Mediclaim. You see, in a Mediclaim, very often your claim is rejected for a variety of reasons. Life it's probably an easier payout. In Mediclaim, your claim is rejected, and when you say a pool, ultimately the premium of everybody else goes up because of non-investigation by the insurance agency. So actually, there's a human right violation not only of mine but of an entire community. I mean, would it be out of place to say that the insurance companies are actually making their job easier by reducing their costs by just making you fill up an online form and saying ultimately the reinsurer or the pool will pay? So in that sense,
I just want to clarify that so there are certain laws. Again, IRDA says that you have to check everything at the time of entering. At the time of exit, you can't check. So after certain years, for example, 2 years. So there is a period which is called the 2 years, which is considered as an early claim. So during 2 years, if customer dies, then you can investigate. Otherwise, up to investigate, if you have issued the policy, you have to settle the claim. So that's simple. So there is no violation of any human rights if the policy continues for 2 years and if something happens and the information given provided in the proposal form was absolutely wrong, still company has to pay the claim because you did not investigate that. So sir is right that way. If the proposal form is having everything mentioned but model is not able to read it properly or predict it properly, but the policy is issued, we have to settle it. It's a gap or lapses from the insurance company.
So there is a huge responsibility on insurance companies, to get an element of trust, to that there's a full disclosure, to bring a sense of loyalty, and also that when I'm disclosing my data, the data is obviously not going anywhere else, shared with somebody. So I think there's a good, what we term as privacy governance that is required probably by banks and insurance companies to get the trust of the common person in. Anu, I have a question for you. I've been wanting to ask this question ever since Jan spoke about artificial intelligence being the solution to everything. So you and me are facing a problem that judges are not being appointed. Do you somewhere think that? Do you think? That's a rhetoric question.
No, it's a great question actually. This is something which, my managing partner was giving the Constitutional Day lecture last few weeks ago with a few judges of the panel, and this question is very relevant. If I'm a policy maker, I will allow AI for routine things. probably I'll replace the banker who forced you to go to the bank branch with AI, because the person is following, bottom of the barrel. But the more you get into nuanced decision making, right, you need the human mind.
Correct. And that would be true, I think, for every industry.
Yeah.
That would be true for so there's machine learning that can probably take care of some level, but ultimately you need the human touch to look at. So I have a follow-up question. I mean, that was really take off from what Jayant had said earlier when he said, who reads that law para? I was thinking. Now, do you think the fintech, which started off as being business-centric, is getting more compliance-centric? And data is really, from being a liberal goal, is becoming a dirty word, where today I am actually obliged to, well, actually I don't know that many passwords because you just figure out who I am, but I believe a person who's averagely digitally active needs to know 100 passwords.
I have a Word document called passwords to store all my passwords.
You've got a Word document and you are plagued with OTPs regularly. Yes. So, when I was young, my grandfather told me, have a flourishing signature, because the signature will be your identity and your gateway. So I practiced this flourishing signature, not getting a chance to use it. But having said that, do you think we're becoming more compliance-centric, and where data is becoming a dirty word, not only for the consumer, but even for the fintech company, in terms of compliance with the new laws coming in place and the liability clauses getting higher?
Great question, Professor. I'll tell you why. I think there's always a what and a why behind it. When does compliance come in? When the government or government authorities, which is ultimately government, they see risk. Risk, if it's a sandboxed approach, if you have a child who is playing here, there's no risk. But if the child is playing on top of the table, it's risky, right? And it's a function of systemic risk in any industry. Why payment aggregation licensing came out, why digital lending guidelines have come out, why different categories, because so far it's okay, but now you need to be supervised. So regulation will come in when the industry as such, or the nature of the beast, becomes bigger. And in turn, of course, data is a function of it, because so far you are not being, it's a very traffic light approach. We often say self-regulation, but how do you just stop at the traffic signal without a cop? Some do, but not all. Maybe.
So I guess time will tell how fintech companies do take that. Okay, we got a few minutes to go, and I'm happy to take any questions from the audience, for the panelists. Yes, sir.
So I have a question for you, Dr. One. So this FTX loop which has happened by Sam, right? And this is a grey area. What kind of laws are there in India to really protect this kind of incidents happening in India? This is like 100 times bigger than Jamtara.
So as I do not want to distinguish between a cyber fraud and a regular fraud. Now, what was fintech involved with a Modi or a Malian? Neither Modi. There was just being careful here. So there was absolutely no fintech involved. They just took money and went away. The bank gave them undertakings, and there were frauds committed there. So when we are looking at frauds in the cyberspace, probably we are looking at them with a greater sense of anxiety, because we don't understand it. See, now, should laws be made specifically for fintech space? I think the answer is yes, because the existing laws are insufficient, and if you want to apply existing laws, you have to actually get in judicial interpretation for extension of those laws to apply to. So a lot easier at the magisterial level would be to just take for example the definition of a document under the IPC. It has been amended to add an electronic document. But if you read the vanilla definition under section 29, you don't need to amend the definition, it includes the electronic document. So at a magisterial level understanding, definitely laws need to be made for preventing something like this, and they need to be blanket laws, not sector specific laws, because the fraud is going to keep manifesting in different avatars. The thief is always ahead of the regulator, so it's going to keep manifesting in different ways. Probably laws have to be a lot stricter, and that's exactly what I'm asking another question. Is data a dirty word? You're going to make the laws stricter, you're going to oblige me as a consumer for greater compliance, you're going to oblige the regulator and the service provider for greater compliance, And that is going to be counterproductive because fintech is actually meant to ease working. So I think it's a double-edged sword. I know you want to say something to that.
I have a contrarian take on this, a bit of a different. When do you need a new law on anything? When your Contract Act, IPC, let's take a step further, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, FEMA, don't have solutions already, which is the whole issue with cryptocurrencies. At some level you can slot them, but nobody wants to take responsibility, no regulator very publicly wants to take responsibility, but it's fallen to the crack that requires a new law. I mean, FTX, if I take your money as a fiduciary, there's a contract of fiduciary under contract law of 1800s, and I use it to do something else, then Macaulay in his 1816 IPC created fraud and cheating, right? Then if you don't want to go through that, you want ED, which is a special, not local CRPC process, then Enforcement Directorate, Prevention of Money Laundering, Proceeds of Crime. What is the show cause government can already give if FTX was in India? FEMA, PMLA, IPC, I'm sure there'll be some other various, so don't we already have fraud? Crime is the oldest, it's been happening since, I think, since one cell morphed into 2 and 3 human beings were created. The 2 fraud is, you can't fraud means with somebody else. So I think laws are there. It's more, when you can't slot that new activity with an existing framework.
Nothing becomes difficult.
Question.
Sir, I am Advocate Narayan Iyer, coming from Bhiwandi. I regularly practice in trial court. Just now Jayan sir was saying about insurance, many new schemes being floated. Now today is a Human Rights Day. As sir was saying that being a Human Rights Day, there are a lot of insurance schemes, and our India, as we all know, that majority of the people are illiterate to a large percentage, and they are the people who are buying the insurance policies. And as we say, we are today on AI, machine learning and Metaverse and all technology, latest advancement technologies. So the illiterate people and the middle class people who are purchasing those policies, so number of policies are there. With the advancement of technological, we have to fill up the forms. So those people have to go to some agent and they have to fill up the form, and then the diseases and which we discussed now just now. So when the time comes for them for the remedy, then the insurance, I have seen personally, because I handle many cases, I have seen personally, then the insurance companies, they straight away reject the claims. Many people there is no settled policy as to where a common man or a middle class man should approach. The ombudsmen are there, and the people have to depend on the agents, the insurance agents. It is then they say that कि आप मुझे सब ये लिख के दे दो, मैं ऊपर जाके ये करता हूँ. So being in this insurance field, sir, don't you think that the legal team is also there? Many students are there. I have seen many young buddy lawyers, they are opting for corporate field. No one is ready to come to court. And so far as this insurance field is concerned, we have a Consumer Protection Act. So don't you think that being in insurance field for a quite large number of time, that there is a dearth of legal professionals in this field who are ready to do the social work? No doubt we are on a rapid technological advancement. AI should be there, I personally agree, but it should go along with the population. So it is not that we should totally depend on AI, machine learning, and so don't you think that being in the insurance field, it is a duty of the insurance companies to bring out certain legal professionals so that a common man, even if his medical claim is rejected, mediclaim, or if his insurance is being not granted, then he will get the justice. Being a human rights day, he will get the justice at a lower top level.
So just to paraphrase your question, you're looking at what happens when claim settlement happens and how is artificial intelligence or fintech going to help.
I am on the point, sir, that
I'll just give it
common
to answer.
people, common man on the streets, they are the larger people who purchase a large number of insurance policies, and they don't get justice. the insurance people blindly reject their claims. They have no one to whom they can revert. Your ombudsmen are there.
Sir, could
So
you
that is
give
what
him
my question is.
Sir, can we give him a chance to answer? Yeah, right. Yeah.
So your name is Narayanan, right? Yeah. So good observation, Narayanan. So it's a feeling from the field, from the entire population, I can say, that they buy some product to protect their families, but when time comes, they don't get money. Yeah. And that's the feeling. So it's not a fact, but it's a feeling, because these settled claims, so not from, I'm not talking about on behalf of my company, but yes, these settled claims, there are regulations. So you're talking about the ombudsman, so there are insurance ombudsman. If insurance ombudsman is not able to help you out properly, then again courts are there. You can reach up to the Supreme Court. But the main point is why this is happening. Okay. Now there is a process of solicitation of insurance business. So Mr. Narayan was saying कि illiterate people होते हैं और उनको नहीं पता होता है, and which is right also. I started my speech on that note only, that there are so many disclaimers. We don't, even if we don't read those disclaimers, and we okay. Whenever you want to download any app from Play Store, वो कुछ भी पूछता है. कैलकुलेटर जब आप डाउनलोड करते हो बोलता है फोन का एक्सेस दो. अरे कैलकुलेटर पर फोन का एक्सेस का क्या मतलब? Is there any link? No, but we say allow, and then we give consent, right? Similarly, the proposer who gives consent is again somewhere is accountable to go through those things. Now we understand that if the person is not literate enough, he will not understand those technical jargon. Surrender क्या होता है, withdrawal क्या होता है, he will not get it. Because all those things are mentioned in brochure, all those things are mentioned in benefit registration, all those things are mentioned in proposal form. So what do? We means most of the insurance company, they call up customers, which is called the pre-verification call. So before issuance of policy, there is a call which goes to customer. वो कॉल पूरे 22 लैंग्वेज में जाता है सर, हिंदी, मराठी, तमिल, तेलुगु. उस लैंग्वेज में कस्टमर से क्लियरली बोला जाता है कि सर यू आर बाइंग इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी, दिस इज नॉट रिलेटेड टू बैंकिंग इंस्ट्रूमेंट, ओके, दिस इज नॉट रिलेटेड टू एफडी, आपको प्रीमियम इतने साल भरना है, योर सम शुड विल बी दिस. सो एवरीथिंग व्हिच इज देयर इन द प्रपोजल फॉर्म, उसको शॉर्ट करके एक 5 मिनट का 6 मिनट का कॉल होता है, व्हिच इज कॉल्ड एज आउटबाउंड कॉल, वेरिफिकेशन कॉल. दैट गोस टू कस्टमर हैज टू गिव हिज कंसेंट. इफ कस्टमर सेज नो बॉस, I was told that it's a single premium policy, I was told it's a bank FD, I was told it's a gold loan, something like that. I was never told it's an insurance policy. I was never told I will not be able to surrender before 5 years. I was never told I will not be able to withdraw money. मुझे maturity तक wait करना पड़ेगा. If customer is any kind of person, we don't issue that policy. Okay, so there are rules, there are regulations, because we are also facing this issue. So I take care of that particularly, missile complaint. So I get those kind of complaints from the field. Missile हो रहा है. And how AI can help, how fintech or AI or machine learning can help us there? We predict. So it's not just that people are doing misselling. Even there are customers. I can share geographies also. जहाँ पे fraud होते हैं, fraud claims आते हैं हमारे पास. So there are certain areas in the country जहाँ से fraud claim आते हैं. And when we see that claim is coming from that particular city or area, we investigate. We get into detail before settling. So there are records. Okay, so it both ways, and both have to be more alert, more aware. Both means the insurance company also, they have to be more customer friendly. They have to be more aware what kind of fraudulent activities are happening in the market, how people are trying to get benefit out of insurance. I have seen claims जो बंदा जन्मा ही नहीं उसका डेथ क्लेम आ गया. So that kind of frauds also happens, and that's why we try to avoid those situations, because again I was talking earlier that we have to settle claim once it is a claim, once the policy is issued and it completes 2 years or 3 years, we have to settle claim. We reject claims in those cases only where we find that claim is not genuine. Okay, but yes, it's not that कि गलती नहीं होती होगी insurance company से, they reject, they deny, maybe claim genuine होगा. So though there are doors open, you can, मतलब customer can approach ombudsman, customer can approach the court, customer can approach police, and then company has to settle the claim if they find any merits in the claim. Okay, so I hope I tried to answer your question. Yes, but I agree with your point that yes, there who are not literate enough to understand the jargons and in the terms and conditions of the insurance policy. And that's a challenge. That's a challenge for the entire industry.
Right, so we are well beyond time, and I apologize for that. I just kind of wrap up this. Thank you, panelists, for an amazing amount of input and data that we have. And we can really conclude that fintech has enabled financial inclusion like nothing else. Take for Aadhaar, for all its criticism, there have been $24 billion worth of direct benefit disbursed through Aadhaar. And that's, I think, one of the most successful stories of fintech in this country. I mean, areas of the country that are underbanked, underinsured, have naturally been reached out. There will be problems. Undoubtedly, we are in the nascent stage of fintech. And I think as privacy governance gets an upstage in companies, then they are their ability to create more loyalty and trust from customers, I think fintech will morph into one of the things to stay with in the long run. Notwithstanding certain human rights violations, but please remember, fintech has made us access our human rights like nothing else. I think that is a very powerful conclusion which I've heard from both the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a really wonderful and knowledge-rich session, and I thank all the speakers and the moderator for sharing their valuable insights and the suggested ramifications on this issue. I'm sure that all the participants here have some food for thought from this absolutely thought-provoking and wonderful session. It was a delight to have such a rich panel from different domains to come under one roof. We are now moving towards the end of the session. Before we head for lunch, I would like to make certain announcements. The second session on artificial intelligence will commence in an hour at the same venue here, that is the Conference Hall 3, and simultaneously the second session on Metaverse will be conducted in the Conference Hall 2, which is situated exactly opposite to this hall. So everybody is requested to assemble in their respective sessions at least 10 minutes prior to the scheduled time. Lunch is available for everyone, including the LLM executives. The only requirement is that you have to get the lunch coupon, which people who are having the folder, the lunch coupon is stapled at the corner of your folder. People who do not have the lunch coupon are requested to collect it from the reception and head to the third floor for the lunch. I request the participants to please remain seated while the dignitaries walk through the dais. Thank you so much, everyone.